University of Allahabad. As per the AICTE requirement, the session will be recorded. Now, Dr. Faisal Anwar will introduce Dr. Ashish Khare, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mohammad Sajid. It is my pleasure to introduce Professor Ashish Khare. Ashish Khare is working as an associate professor of computer science at the University of Allahabad, India. His area of expertise is image processing, computer vision, machine learning, wavelet-based applications, and cyber physical systems. He is actively working in area of machine vision, image and video analysis from last 20 years. He did his PhD in area of medical imaging. He did his postdoctoral research from Gwangju Institute of Science and Technology, Korea. He has successfully supervised 8 PhD students in area of machine vision. He has carried 2 research projects on development of surveillance systems. Currently, he is PI of one collaborative India Heidelberg University RTG Big Data project, in which he is dealing with early detection of neurodegenerative diseases and human action recognition and behavior understanding. He has published more than 135 papers in SCI Scopus Index journals and conference proceedings. He is fellow of IETE and currently serving as a secretary of IETE Allahabad Center. Now it is over to you, sir. You may start now.
Thank you, Dr. Faisal, for such nice introduction. Thank you, Dr. Sajid and Professor Khan, for inviting me in this workshop. And due to this COVID-19 pandemic, we cannot see the campus of the AMU or see your faces. But I would like to discuss more and more in the interactive form. Dr. Sajid, is the presentation of PPT not allowed?
It is allowed, sir. It is allowed. Sir, are you sharing the PPTs?
Yeah.
It is allowed, sir. It is visible. You can.
Okay, just please let me to check once more. Sorry for little bit delay.
It's okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
Sir, there is a link of present now option.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
and I'm doing that one, but the PPT slide is. Okay, good. Now I got it.
Yeah, sir.
Yes, it is presenting now, sir.
Presenting now. Thank you.
So, am I audible and it is visible properly?
Yes, sir. You are properly audible and.
Okay, good. So today I would like to talk about data processing and data manipulation for my common techniques used in the data sciences. Basically, once we talk about the data science, then data science is you can say the word is the fancy word, but the people of computer science and data analysis are working in the data science from last more than 2 decades in some or other forms. And recently, due to the advent of the various artificial intelligence techniques and you can say various analysis technique, fast computational machines, etc., the research or the analysis used in the data sciences is of the interest, and a lot of people are working in analysis of the data in different form. So this will be the outline of the presentation. uh, Data science, common types of data, and then quality of data, and then details about the few data pre-processing techniques like the data cleaning, integration, reduction, transformation, and discretization. If we go to understand what is data science, I know that in the previous session you must have covered these all basics about what the data science and what are their applications, etc. But in a very brief, data science is just a multidisciplinary field of the study with a goal to address the challenges of the data. Data science is a multidisciplinary field of study with the goal to address the challenges of the big data, and basically the data science principles apply to all data, either that is the big data or the small data. Normally we try to develop some method, normally we try to develop some algorithm, normally we try to develop some applications which can equally work in case of the big data. Means that algorithm or that method will work in the case of the small data. Of course, that will work in the case of the small data, but the objective is to work in case of the big data. So data science is a science which uses computer science, statistics, machine learning, visualization, and HCI to collect, clean, integrate, analyze, visualize, and interact with data and create the data product. This have a lot of applications. I'm not going in those applications, but basically what I said few minutes back, that data science is not a new field, but data science people are working in data science in different ways in the area of computer science. Like the people are working in area of artificial intelligence, pattern recognition, some statistical data analysis, etc. So basically the objective is to collect the data, to clean the data, integrate the data, and then analyze and visualize the data and interact with the data in the sense interact with the data in the intelligent manner to create to get the certain conclusion and to you can say create the data products. Large scale data is everywhere. There has been enormous data growth in both commercial and scientific databases. You can see over here, these are the few applications where the voluminous data, large scale data is available. And nowadays, people don't bother about the data. They grab the data, whatever and whenever is the possible. And normally the expectation from the data scientists is to analyze those data, analyze those gathered data for the purpose for the different purposes. So data science draws ideas from the machine learning, artificial intelligence, pattern recognition, statistics, and database systems. As I have mentioned twice earlier, that it is not a new field, but it have the many ideas from the existing branches like the machine learning, artificial intelligence, pattern recognition, statistical analysis, etc. And nowadays, traditional techniques are becoming unsuitable due to the data is of the large scale, high dimensional, heterogeneous, complex, and the distributed in the nature. Therefore we study the data sciences. We try to understand some techniques of the data sciences. So before going in the detail, first we need to understand that what is data. Data is nothing but the collection of the object and the attribute. There are the two things. For any data, some attributes are the associated, and you can say that the collection of the objects are there. Collection of the objects are there. Like this, you can say that the 10 objects are there who are talking about the some attributes and giving you the some conclusion. And in fact, not only this, but you can say any object which exists in the nature, any object which exists in the nature can be identified by the certain attribute and being classified into a certain class. So this is the data. Means data is just you can say that the collection of the data object and their attribute, and attribute are nothing but the property. So if we visualize the data, more complete view of the data, then data may have the various parts. Data is not in the singleton form, but data may have the various parts, and these attributes may have the relationship with some other attribute of the same data or the attributes of the another data. For example, if someone is going to the mall and see that that the bread is the packet of the butter is just in the adjacent of the bread, then both have the different data, but they have the certain relationship. And the data scientists have obtained this particular rule, analyzed this particular rule, mined this rule that the chances that those customers who will buy the bread have the probability to buy the butters. So etc. These are the some of the. This is the one of the simple example. So basically, what I want to mention that attributes may have the relationship with some attribute of the same object or with the some attribute of the another object, and that attribute could be can be obtained in the detailed way. For example, if we see the example of the bread and the butter, then the attribute of the bread and the butter, both the some detailed attribute of the bread and butter are being associated, and the detailed attribute of the bread and butter is that both are used for the breakfast, right? So that is form of the some association. That breakfast is not direct attribute associated either with the bread or associated with the butter, the direct physical attribute associated with the bread or the butter, but in the form of the some other advanced form of the attribute, or you can say that the high level attribute which are relating the bread and butter together. So basically this one is the important point about the about once we are talking about the data science, that the attribute must have, we need to identify the relationship of the one attribute of the attribute of the object within the attribute of the object, or the relationship of the attribute of the object with other attributes of the object. And basically I want to mention here that that as good attribute you will find, as good data analysis you can do. And finding the attribute finding the attribute of the object is a complex task, right? This only comes by the you can say that the high level visualization, high level you can say analysis. So basically the attribute finding is the one of the key parameter for the analysis of the data, and this attribute may have the relationship with other attributes. More generally, the data may have the structure, data may not have the structure. Data can be incomplete in nature. In the real world, the available data is normally incomplete in the nature, that is not in the complete form. Now, if we go for the type of the attribute in the quick way, then there are the different types of the attribute, and these attributes can be classified in the broad way. Either this classification is not perfect. Those faculty members who are aware with the data mining or teaching this particular course, they must be argue that this classification is not perfect. But there are the different type of the attribute, and these attributes are the nominal, ordinal, interval, or the ratio attribute. Nominal attributes are the attributes which differentiate between one object to another object. For example, ID numbers, eye color, zip code, etc. If we talk about the color of the person, or if we talk about the say ID number of the person, then one ID could be the one particular data value at one place, and the same ID could be at the different place, have the different meaning. So means this these are just a way to differentiate. These are just a way to differentiate the one object to the another object in certain domain. Second one is the ordinal attributes. Ordinal attributes have the sufficient information to order the object. They have the certain kind of the order. For example, if we talk about the days of the week, then that have the certain order, and always you can say that the Monday is coming between the Sunday and the Tuesday, that have the certain order. Or if we talk about the height of the person, tall, medium, short, they have the certain order, either in the one order or in the just the reverse of the order. But the meaning of the ordinal is the same over here, that the one value is always be between the two values, and that follow the certain order. Next type of the attribute is the interval attribute, like the dates, temperature, etc. And next type of the attribute is the ratio attributes. For example, if we talk about the age of the person is the say 40 years, then 40 is just, you can say, range. It could be the few months less than the 40 year, or few months more than the 40 year. Or if we talk about the weight is the 68 kg, then the 68 kg, some grams could be the less and some grams could be the more. So this is you can say in form of the certain ratio. So these are the types of common types of the attribute. And once we try to once the some attribute is known to us, and we try to see that the attribute belong to which class, then there are the many more complications in deciding that which attribute belong to which category. For example, the ID number, someone can say that it is a nominal attribute, other one can say that this could be the ordinal attribute because the value is coming, 2 is coming between the 1 and the 3, or 10 is coming between the that have the certain order, right? Or someone can say no, it is an interval attribute. So a lot of discussions could be, a lot of deliberations could be present over the saying that which attribute belong to which category. But the data scientists have to decide wisely that which attribute belong to which category. And once the attribute is being decided that it belongs to this particular category, then only the techniques for analyzing, only the pre-processing technique and only the analysis technique used for analysis that type of the attribute is being done. You cannot analyze, you cannot use each and every technique for each and every type of the data, right? Another example could be the number of the cylinders in the automobile engine, like the nominal attribute or the ordinal attribute, or the ratio attribute. So this is basically the key message for the attribute of the attribute type. The type of the operation you choose should be meaningful for the type of data you have. You have to decide that which type of operations you want to perform, right? And which type of the data you have to take. And this could be analyzed in the you can say in many ways. And in some sense, you can say that if you are talking about the analysis of the all students who have passed from a particular university like the AMU, then the enrollment number could be the sufficient, and that could be the ordinal attribute. But if you are talking about the talking about the all universities of the India, all central universities of the India, then that particular enrollment number, which is working as an ordinal attribute for the case of the AMU, will not be correct, because if you are considering all students of all central universities of the India, then that could be only nominal attribute. So basically the type, the way how you are willing to analyze the data will help you to decide that which attribute belong to which type. So this is the, you can say that the one of the key point, that you have to identify the type of the attribute. And once you identify the type of the attribute, the number of attributes associated with any object could be the could not be the 3 or 4 attribute, but that could be the multiple attributes. But once you decide the type of the attribute, then only you can proceed for analyzing those things. Now, next thing is the type of the data set. Data set can be the normally classified into 3 broad categories, like the record, graph, or the ordered data set. In the record, we have the data matrix, document data, etc. The main important characteristic of the data, first one is the dimensionality, the number of the attribute. As I have mentioned, that data could have the many number of the attribute, and high dimensional data brings a number of the challenges. And high dimensional data is that data which have the multiple attributes connected with over that. So that you have to analyze among those that particular data in those multiple attributes. So first one is the dimensionality. Dimensionality is the first important characteristic of the data, which is just talking about the number of the attributes associated with data. And if you are analyzing the data in the data for the one application, then one set of the attribute could be the okay. But if you are analyzing the data for another application, then another set of the attribute of the data is the required. For example, if we just take the example of the shopping mall, then in the shopping mall, the analysis could be in the 2 ways. One is the analysis with respect to the customer, and another one is the you can say one is the analysis with respect to the buyer, and another one could be the analysis with respect to the with respect to the you can say inventory, or with respect to the product which is coming in the mall. So in that case, if you are analyzing the buyer's pattern, then you have to look about the properties of the object which are used for buying, and you will put all those objects together at one place, which have the more like which have, you can say, all object can be placed in the neighboring places. Where there is the chance that if a particular customer is buying one object, then the chance that then the same customer will buy the another object. So this could be the way of the analysis. And here you will use the certain number of attributes, and those attributes could be, you can say that for what objective the product is the used, and what are the use of the product, etc. But if you are talking about the say inventory type of the system for that one, then you have to just associate different properties of the same object with the system. Next one is the sparsity. Sparsity is you can say only presence count, means the data is the presence or not. Next one is the resolution. Next characteristic, the resolution, means the pattern depends on the scale of the data. The different patterns present in the data, that depends on the scale. Size, the type of the analysis may depend on the size of the data. Which type of the analysis you will use, that always depends on the size of data, how big your data have or how small your data have. This is an example of the record data. The data that consist of collection of the records, each of which consists of the fixed set of attribute. This is an example of the data matrix where the certain tabular form representation, matrix form representation has been given to you, where you can see the details. This is the document data. Document data in the document, each documents become a term vector, and in fact in the document data, if we have the document, then we try to find out the certain important keywords present in the document, and just say the occurrence of number of the occurrence of the different particular keywords present in the document, and according to that the things would be analyzed. For example, if these are the some of the important keywords that could be the present with the certain, you can say, game type of the news or game type of the document, and there are the 3 documents, then just by analyzing the occurrence of the a particular word, like in the document 1 the game word is present 6 times, where in the document 2 the game word is not present at any time, and the document 3 the game word is present at 2 places. So basically the document data, in the document data we just identify the frequency of occurrence of a particular keyword in the document, and according to the frequency of occurrence of a particular keyword, particular word in the document, we try to classify or we try to analyze the document. For example, there is a page rank algorithm, Google page rank algorithm, which is not publicly known to key form of the page rank algorithm. Google page rank algorithm is known to us, but publicly the details of the algorithm is not available to us. So that is an example how the searching is being made, how the analysis is being made. So that if you type a particular word, then a similar type of the images or a similar type of the video or a similar type of the text document is being retrieved to you. Next one is the transaction data. This is a special type of the data where each transaction involves a set of the item. For example, you can say that the first transaction or the first customer have purchased the 3 items, second customer have purchased these 2 items, third customer have purchased these 4 items, and so on. So just by buying, just by looking the buying pattern, just by seeing the buying pattern, you can identify that the chances that a particular customer is purchasing this particular object, then what is the chance for purchasing the customer as the another object. So this is the data analysis. This is the data analysis. Next one is the graph data. Graph data where the different things are being connected. Different. This is one of the common data type of the data which is used in the document analysis, where the different keywords, how those keywords are being associated with other words present in the same document or the other words present in the another document. And not only for the document, but for the other type of the data. One particular attribute, how one particular data value is associated with another data value of another object. So if we make such type of the complex graph structure, then that is you can say graph representation of the data. Next one is the order data, where the certain sequence of the transactions are present. Means here you can say that B is coming after A, or the D is coming after B, or D is coming after C. So a sequence elements of patterns, a certain sequence is present. The best example is you can say DNA sequencing, right? Genomic sequencing, ACTG, adenine, guanine, thymine, and cytosine, right? A particular sequence of the genomes will identify the characteristic of the individual. So and if you just change a little bit in that sequence, then entire property of the particular object can be changed. So this is example of the order data. Another example is the spatiotemporal data, where the average monthly temperature of the land and ocean. Now these were the popular types of the data. And data quality. If the data quality is the poor data quality, if the quality of the data is the poor, then that negatively affect many data processing efforts, right? So quality of data must be the good. And for example, if just you can say that a classification model for detecting people who are loan risk is built using the poor data. If you are developing the certain classification model for detecting the people who are the loan risk, means giving the loan to them is a risk. And if this model is being prepared, if this model is built using the poor data, then it may be possible that some good candidates are denied by the loans, or some loans can be given to the some candidate who are not able to or who are who do not have the sufficient credit to return that particular loan. So this type of the things can happen. So the quality of data must be decided before directly applying any data analysis or the machine learning algorithms, that the quality of data must be good. Different kind of the quality problems can occur. And next question is, how can we detect the problems with the data, and what can do about these problems? The example of the data quality problem, the some noise or the outliers can be the present many times. Noise is not good, but many times outliers are very good. I will show you in the after a few slides that many times outliers which we neglect in the data analysis gives the good results. Many times some missing values are present in the data, some duplicate values are present in the data, some wrong data is present, or the data collected or the data given to us is the fake in the nature. So this is example of the noise. These are the two sine waves, and these two sine waves are combined with the noise. You can look over the second figure. And just by looking this particular figure, no one can say that this is the noisy data of the combination of the two sine waves. Although what we have done, we have just taken the two sine waves of the different frequencies and combine them, right? Combine them, and if the two sine waves of the different two or more waves of different frequencies have been taken, and if we combine them, then they have the certain pattern, and that pattern must exhibit. But if we simply add the certain random noise over there, then it is very difficult to see that the some noise is present over some useful information is present over here. Although the useful information present over here is the two different sine waves, two sine waves of the different frequency. Outliers can be the present here.
Hello. Sir, a kind request. Can you turn off your video? It will save our data.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, next one is the outliers. Outliers are the data object with characteristics that are considerably different than most of the other data object in the data set. For example, here you can see that these four are the basic clusters, right? These four means most of data which is present over there is just being you can say grouped in these four classes. But these 3 points which are being encircled by the this one, and this one are the single data points which are like the outliers. But outliers are normally, if you are analyzing the data for the business purpose, or if you are analyzing the data for some normal purpose, then outliers are must be neglected in the analysis. But if you are analyzing the data, if you are analyzing your data for the certain crucial problem, like if you are analyzing certain medical analysis, and if you are trying to detect that the certain tumor or the cancer is present in the body or not, right, so a certain portion of the body or not, then in that case, where the difference is present, where the outlier is present, or where the noise is the present, that is the information. So outliers of the data objects are those points which are considerably different than most of other data points, but many times outliers are the goal of our analysis. For example, credit card fraud, or for example, the medical image or the medical data analysis, etc. So we cannot neglect the outliers. We only neglect the outliers based on our application. If our application demands that outlier should be neglected, then only we can neglect it. Missing value. Many times the missing values are present in the data, and the reasons for the presence of the missing values are information is not collected, means the people decline to give their information, means you cannot get the information. Suppose someone goes in the field and for making the survey, then many people decline the many kind of the information. So if the missing values are the present, then that should be, you can say, either neglected or just being averaged. Means you have to handle those missing values in many ways. For example, for handling the missing values, either we eliminate the data object or the variable. Means those data object where the certain missing values, certain important attribute having the missing values, either we can neglect the entire data object, or if we have the certain estimation methods, then we try to estimate the missing values based on the estimation technique. Or if you are only analyzing those attributes which are which having the missing values, then we can ignore the missing values during the analysis. So these are the three common ways of handling the missing values. And depending on the application, or depending on the way you can apply any of them. Duplicate data can be the present. The data set may include the data object that are duplicates or almost duplicates of the one other. This is the one of the major issue in the data sciences, when the same data is repeated many times. For example, there are various type of the examples of the duplicate data. One is the same person with multiple email addresses, or the same data is present at the different time, or one email address, you can say that one person and the same another email address have again the same person, and so on. So what we do, we simply to process the to deal with the duplicate data, we apply the certain data cleaning technique. So in the data pre-processing for the data science subject, normally we do these four kind of the pre-processing techniques. These pre-processing techniques are the basic pre-processing techniques: data cleaning, data integration, data reduction, and data transformation. In data cleaning, what we do, fill the missing values. If the noisy data is present, then smooth the noisy data to identify and remove the outliers, to identify and remove the inconsistencies present in the data. In the data integration, if the data is being collected by the multiple databases, then just to integrate them. And data reduction is very important if the voluminous data, if the size of the data is the voluminous. Because if the size of the data is the very high, then we need to reduce the data, because it is not possible in real-time application to process the big size data. Then dimensionality reduction or some other way of the reduction of the size of the data is the important one. And next one is the data transformation and discretization. Many times it is very difficult to difficult to analyze the data in one domain. And once we convert the data, once we visualize the data in another domain, then analysis become easier. For example, if you have to see the speech spectrum of any person who is speaking to you, then it is very difficult to identify the frequencies present in the speech. But once you convert it into the certain take the Fourier transform or other frequency transform, then you can identify that a particular person have these dominant frequencies present in the speech, which cannot be identified just by looking the speech signal. So many times the transformation is gives the another you can say attributes of the data which could not be possible in the one way. So let us talk one by one of each of these four. First one is the data cleaning. Data in the real world is dirty in the nature. A lot of potentially incorrect data is available to us. For example, you can say the data could be the incomplete, data could be the noisy, data could be the inconsistent, data could be the intentional, right? For example, if some occupation field is the present and the value is missing, then that is the example of the incomplete data. Or if the salary value is given as the -10, then it is a noisy data. Salary could not be less than the 0, right? Or the data could be the inconsistent. For example, if someone is saying that in some field the age is written as the 42 and birthday is written as the 3 July 2010, then it is inconsistent in the nature, right? And many times the intentional data is the present. For example, if you see the profile of the social media, then you will find that many people have the birthday on the 1st of January, right? That is because it may be possible that those people who have created the profile in the social media, they have not placed their birthday as the correct date, but you can say that just they fill up the year or something else, right? And the default date has been taken as the 1st of January. So this could be the example of the intentional data. So data cleaning is the required over there. First one is the incomplete data. Data is not always available. Missing data may be present due to the equipment malfunction, inconsistent record, and many other reasons. I'm not going in the detail of these, why the missing data is present over there, but I'm interested to tell you how to handle the missing data. If the missing data is available, then first thing what we can do in the commonly which we do is just we ignore the tuple. If we ignore the tuple, this is usually done when the class level are the missing. If the some value is the missing the data, we simply ignore that particular object, right? Second thing what we can do is the fill the missing value manually. If the some missing value is the present over there, then we simply check over the data and find out what value has been missing. Then we try to fill up that by the manually or fill up by the automatically. Manual filling is the you can say that will be the accurate one, but it is not feasible. It is a tedious task, right? So what we can do, we fill in it automatically with the certain global constant or the certain mean of the data, or the you can say mean of the samples, sample of the data, some representative value belonging to the certain range, etc. If the noisy data is the present, then what we can do, we can simply apply the certain binning technique or the regression technique or the clustering technique, or just by combining the computer and the human inspection. I will talk about the clustering in the detail in the tomorrow afternoon. But binning is the one of the simplest technique, and in fact in the tomorrow morning I hope that You have some details about the regression as well. So some binning method means for smoothing the data. If suppose the price is given to you in the sorted order like this, right? Then if we want to say that that these prices are nothing but in the noisy form, right? Suppose these forms are in the noisy form, then what we can do, we can partition the data into the different groups. For example, this could be the one partition, this could be the second partition, this could be the third partition. There the ways of the partitioning also exist, right? Or the ways of the partitioning can be decided by the nature of the data. And suppose this particular series is being partitioned into 3 bins, then we can either smooth by the means of the bins. For example, the mean of the first bin is the 9, so we can just replace each of them as the value 9. Or the mean of this particular thing is the 23, we can replace them by the 23. Or we can do by the bin boundaries, means we can select the minimum and maximum values and replace the data in form of the minimum and maximum in the boundaries. For example, in this particular data, the minimum value is the 4 and the maximum value is the 15. And here the 4, 8 and 9 are the closer to the 4. So the 4, 4, 4 has been written over here. And 15 is the closer, 15 is the far from the 4 but closer to the 15, right? So in this way you can write, or here you can say that the minimum value is the 26 and maximum value is the 34. Again, the 26, 28 and 29 are the closer to the 26 than 34. Therefore, in place of these 3 values, 26 has been written, and in this value, the 34 has been written. So this is you can smooth by the median value of the data. Median would be the more reliable parameter for the smoothing, and normally it is being expected that the median value is the least affected by the noise. The chances of the noise in the medium is the least one. So if we go for the data cleaning as the process, data cleaning as a process, data discrepancy detection. For the discrepancy detection of the data, we use the metadata like the domain, range, dependency, distribution, etc. We check the field overloading. We check the uniqueness rule, consecutive rule, and the null rule. And we can go for the certain commercial tool for the cleaning process, like the data scrubbing or the data auditing. There are some commercial tools available for these processes, and we can use those tools as well. Data integration. Next part is the data integration. Data integration combines the data from the multiple sources into a coherent source. The data which is obtained from the multiple sources are being combined together, and the integration could be done in form of the schema integration. For example, if we are working with a certain database, then normally we do that customer ID of a table A is same as the customer ID of the table B. Like the A.customer ID is same as the B.customer hash. It may be possible that in the table B, the name of this particular attribute is written as the customer followed by the hash symbol. So schema can be the integrated. We can integrate the metadata from the different sources. Entity identification problem. We can identify the entities in the entities. It may be possible that same entities exist in the database in the system, can be represented in the multiple ways, in the different ways at the different places. For example, in the text document, somewhere the Allahabad University is written, somewhere the University of Allahabad has been written. Both have the same meaning. If you have to analyze the data, or if you have to you can say analyze the data, then you have to identify these particular a particular problem, and wherever the occurrence of the Allahabad University or the University of Allahabad, you can say that both are the same, and we simply count them at, or we can treat them as a same data. Next one is the detecting and resolving data value conflict for the same real world entity. Attribute values from different sources are the different. It may be possible for the same real world entity, attribute values from the different sources are different. Same entity exists, but the attribute value of the attribute which is obtained from the various sources are different. Are different. So in this case, we need to detect them. We need to detect them and resolve the data value conflict. There could be the different possible reasons, like you can say that the different representation of the data value. It may be possible that you are representing the data value in one scale at one place, but you are representing the same data value in other scale in another place, right? For example, it is written over here. Example is the metric or the British unit. You can measure the certain things in form of the metric unit, or you can say gram, kilogram, or the pound, etc. in the case of the British unit, and the same weight is the measured in the two scales in the two places. So you have to detect those things and try to avoid those conflicts. So for handling the redundancy in the data integration, redundant data occur when the integration of the multiple sources, multiple databases are being done. And the redundant data, for handling the redundancy, the object identification should be done. The same attribute or the object may have the different name in the different databases. The same attribute or the object can have the different names, and if they have the different name, then you have to identify and try to just develop the certain method, or try to incorporate in your method that they have the same meaning. Next one is the derivable data. One attribute may be derived attribute in the another table. For example, I have just told you that the weight measured in the kilogram and weight measured in the pound, there are the two units. They have the certain relations, kilogram and the pound. One data can be derived from the another data, right? If or this is another example, annual revenue. Annual revenue can be derived with help of the you can say income and the expenditure, etc. So one data can be derived from the certain number of the other data. So these are the example of the data redundancy. If you are doing the data integration, then the redundancy could be the present over there, and redundant attribute may be able to detect it by the sometime the correlation analysis and the covariance analysis. Many times we do the correlation and covariance analysis for identifying the redundant attribute. For example, we can go for the chi-square test, right? This is used for the correlation analysis of the nominal data, and we simply calculate the value of the chi-square. And if the value, I'm not going in the detail how the chi-square calculation is being done, but we simply calculate the chi-square values, and if the values are high, then it simply shows that if there are the two data, right, two or more data which have the if we compute the chi-square value between them, and that chi-square value is giving a larger value, then we can say that it is more likely that variables are related to each other. Next one is the, you can say, correlation analysis. We can do for the correlation correlation between the two data, correlation coefficient. We can compute the correlation coefficient between the two data, and if the correlation coefficient having the value greater than the 0, then this means they are the positively correlated. A and B are the positively correlated. Means if the value of the A is increasing, then B is also increasing in the same way. The higher the value of the correlation coefficient means the strong correlation. If the correlation coefficient is the 0, then this means that is the data values are independent to each other. And if the correlation value is negative, then this means they are negatively correlated, means the one value is increasing and another value is decreasing. So in this way, you can reduce the number of the attribute. This is you can say that the visual evaluation of the correlation. If the correlation value is the -1, then this means the one data is being increases and another one is the decreases, right? And here here you can say that the +1 both are increasing, X and the Y both are the increasing, right? Here as soon as we increase the value of the X, the value of the Y is being decreasing. So the zero correlation means the purely random value. It is written shown over here. So this is the visual evaluation of the correlation. We can compute the covariance. Covariance is you can say used for again means if the group of the data is present over there, right? If the group of the data is present over there, we can compute the covariance of data. And in fact, correlation coefficient is nothing but the covariance of AB divided by the standard deviation of A and a standard deviation of the B. So simply just by looking the covariance value, we can obtain we can at least infer the certain things. If the covariance value is greater than 0, then A and B both tend the larger than their expected values. And if this is less than the 0, then A is larger than its expected value and B is likely to be the smaller than expected value. Means just by looking the value of the covariance, we can see that the values of the A and B, means how much expected value is large, how much the value is expected to be the larger or smaller, right? So covariance can give you the different kind of analysis. So once we do such type of analysis, then data reduction is the required. Means if the data is the voluminous, data is the you can say big in the size, then data reduction is the required. A database or the data warehouse may store the terabytes of the data, and many times the data analysis takes a very long time to run the complete data set. So what we do, we simply reduce the size of the data, or we simply reduce the number of the features which are representing the data. One simple technique is the dimensionality reduction. Dimensionality reduction removes the unimportant attribute, and there are the few techniques used for the reduction of the dimensionality, like the wavelet transform, principal component analysis, feature subset selection, etc., or the numerosity reduction, like the regression, histogram, cube aggregation, etc., or we can do for the compression. So what happens when the dimensionality increases? When we think that if we increase the number of the attribute, the analysis would be the accurate. This is not always being correct. If we simply for the certain data analysis, certain data mining tasks, certain data analysis tasks, if we think that just by increasing the number of attribute in the analysis will increase the accuracy in the analysis, then it is not correct. The accuracy of the analysis increases up to certain level by increasing the number of attribute, but after incorporation of more number of attributes, the accuracy is decreasing at the rapid speed. So it is happening in most of cases in the data analysis. So never think that as good the number of attribute we will provide to the system, the accuracy will increase. Those who are working with the working with the neural networks or the deep learning type of the techniques, they must have seen these things. In the neural network, we provide all the things, all the information as it is to the system, right? In the neural network, we provide all the information to the system as it is, without thinking about the attribute, without thinking about the data value, without thinking about the anything. And what happens, the accuracy increases up to certain level, and after the certain time accuracy starts decreasing. So this is the one of example. And the main thing what I want to focus over here, or what I want to mention over here, that if we increase the dimensionality, means if we increase the number of attribute, then the data size becoming increasingly sparse, and after certain time the accuracy of analysis is going to be the decrease. So this is the problem with the dimensionality, means the curse of the dimensionality. So what we do, we have to reduce the dimensionality, we have to do the dimensionality reduction to avoid the curse of the dimensionality, and we need to eliminate some irrelevant features and reduce the noise, reduce the time and space required for the data mining. And once we reduce the dimensionality, then that will allow us to easy visualization of the data. These are the few techniques for the data reduction. Although there are the, I would again like to mention one more point at this stage, that the techniques used for the data cleaning, techniques used for the data integration, techniques used for the data reduction, techniques used for the transformation are not only limited to these particular techniques. These techniques which I am discussing over here, these are the some of the basic techniques used in the data science, but the technique which you will use, that depends on your applications, right? And I have seen the program of this particular short-term course, and I hope that after tomorrow you will be getting the various applications, and in different applications you will look that various techniques has been used in different ways for the different applications. They could be the suitable for their own applications. So anyway, these are the wavelet transform, PCA, and supervised and non-linear techniques for the feature selection, etc., are the sum of the dimensionality reduction technique. And in the dimensionality reduction, what we do, we simply reduce the number of the features, or we reduce the number of the you can say data points representing the important information. This is the one of the simple feature reduction examples. Suppose a table has been given to you. There are the 5 features are there, and the classes are again in the class of the 0, 1 to 0 and 1, 2 binary classes. Then if we see, then this particular class C can be obtained just by only 2 features, F1 and F2, or F1 and F3. And you can look over here that there are the different features which are the irredundant in the nature, which are redundant in the nature, like the F3 is nothing but the negation of the F2. So if you are knowing F2 or if you are knowing the F3, it is fine, right? So it is not necessary that we know both the values, only one value would be the enough. So if you have the 5 features, you can reduce the number of the features like this. If the F3 is the negation of the F2, then either you select the F3 or you can select the F2. Similarly, out of the F4 and the F5, you can select any one of them. So just by reducing the features in this way, and for reducing the feature, many times the representation is also important. Sometimes we do the probabilistic representation of the data, and the probabilistic representation of the data will give us the different kind of the meaning for the data. For example, here you can say that probability of the hair type is becoming 3. For the known result is the result no is the 0, right? So you can simply avoid this particular condition, right? So where it is the 1 or where it is the 0, you can just use that one and represent that one. Next one is the mapping the data to the new space. This example I have shown you a few slides back, that these are the two sine waves, and this one is the data which is being obtained by combining these two sine waves with added noise. And in this particular data you cannot see anything, means you cannot see that which dominant frequency is present here, present over there. But once you compute its Fourier transform, once you convert it into a new space, means not in the spatial domain, but you convert it into the frequency domain, then you can look over here that two dominant frequency values are present over here, and you can say that these two values are present in the data value, rest of values are the very small, so that could be treated as a noise. So many times it is possible that we cannot visualize the data in the one domain. We cannot visualize the data in one domain, but if we convert the data in another domain, then better visualization of the data, better analysis, better analysis of the data could be possible, because we can get the information from, we can get the features, or we can get the values, we can get the information from there. This is you can see over this example that the dominant frequencies are not being visible just by looking over here, but once we convert into the Fourier domain, then the frequencies, two dominant frequencies, are quite visible. Next one is the wavelet transform. This is used for the you can say reduction of the data reduction in case of the image or the video, and those who are working with the image processing or video processing must be familiar with it, and those who are not doing the work in this area, then let me to tell you that JPEG image, which is the highly compressed image, is one of the beautiful application of the wavelet transform. Actually I'm just giving this example because the image or the video is voluminous data, is an example. If you are talking about the video data, then that is the example of the big data. And if we try to analyze the video data, then in case of the image or the video, what we do, we simply analyze the features present over there, right? Features could be, you can say that these boundary features, these eyes, nose, etc. And if the rest of things we can neglect, right? For example, if you have to see this particular cap, then if you are only knowing the boundaries and little bit shape of the cap, then that will be enough for us. We are only analyzing by those things. So by using the wavelet transform, we can represent the dominant features, we can represent the high frequency features in less number of the coefficients, and the remaining coefficients can be neglected, right? Remaining coefficients can be neglected. Here also, if we simply store these two particular values and rest of values we can neglect over here, then instead of remembering all these data points, we only say that these 2 points, these 2 points or these two frequencies are present over here. But at what point which frequency is present over here, it is not known by this particular frequency transform. And with the wavelet transform, we can identify that which frequency is present at what position, or which particular dominant data is present at what position. This is the example which I used here is the example of the image, but this could be the extended for the other numerical and you can say categorical type of the data as well. So this is how to compute the wavelet transform, etc. Next one is the principal component analysis. Principal component analysis is also means used for the reduction of the data. What we do in the principal component analysis, if the certain data, certain set of the data has been given to us, then I know that maybe you have forgotten some of you may have been forgotten, but I'm sure that you must be aware about the eigenvalues and eigen vectors of any matrix. What we do if we have a n cross n matrix, right? If we simply go on the mathematics, and if we have if we consider an n cross n matrix, then the features of that particular n cross n matrix can be represented by just n eigenvalues, right? And those eigenvalues are present in the diagonal diagonal of the matrix. So principal component analysis is based on that particular principle of the mathematics. And what we do over here, given the n data vector for the n dimensions, and we need to find out the k, which is the less orthogonal, which is less than the n orthogonal vectors that can be the best used to represent the data. Means if we have the n dimension data has been given to us, and suppose n is the 50 attributes are known to us, 50 features are known to us, right? 50 features are known to us. If we are interested to represent that particular data with help of only 10 features, then what we can do, we simply compute the principal component, and dominant and the highest value of the principal components, 10 highest value of the principal components can be taken, and that could be used as the that could be used as the representation of the data. This principal component analysis works only for the numeric data. You cannot you cannot work it for the other type of the data. Next one is the attribute subset selection. Another way to reduce the dimensionality of the data is to remove the redundant attribute and reduce the irrelevant attribute. Means just by analyzing manually or just by analyzing analytically, if the certain redundant attribute has been present over the data, then try to remove that from the data. For example, if suppose the sum, if you simply consider the example of the shopping mall, and suppose if we simply store the amount paid by the certain customer, there is no need to store the amount paid by the customer, because that could be the computed based on the product the customer have purchased, right? So this type of the attribute could be the irrelevant attribute, right? And we can simply remove that from the data. There are the few techniques of the parametric data regression, reduction, regression, and the log linear model. Linear regression means, let me tell you about the regression just by okay, this is visible properly? Blank screen?
Sir, blank screen is not visible.
Blank screen is not visible. I just want to write down the certain things. Okay, let me to explain by my own way. I'm just switching on my camera so that I can. Okay, many times.
I also request you to conclude, because we are left with only 15 minutes and we have to take some question answers as well.
Okay, sure. I will just finish within 10 minutes. Okay. And if we talk about the regression, then what we do in the regression, we try to fit the data with help of the certain function, right? Certain function. We try to if the data has been given to us, then we try to model. We try to create the certain model to fit the data with help of the certain function, right? So that if we just remember that particular parametric function, that particular log type of the function, or any other kind of the function, if we simply remember that particular function, then instead of remembering any other feature, that particular function can also work, right? So regression techniques are also used for the reduction of the data, and it could be done in the supervised learning section. Histogram analysis could be done. Means we divide the data into the bucket and store the average or the sum of the bucket. Means we divide the data into the buckets of the certain range, and store the average of the each bucket. Clustering could be done. Means we partition the data into the set of the cluster and try to represent important or a representative point of the cluster. Means suppose some small clusters are being obtained of the data, then some representative point of the cluster in form of the centroid or the diameter, etc., can be used as the data value. So suppose if we obtain the 100 clusters, 100 small clusters, then only 100 points, 100 representative point, or a more number, maybe 200 or 300 points, representative points, can represent the entire millions of the data. We could do the sampling. Means obtain the small samples to represent the whole data set N, right? Sampling could be the performed. That different type of the sampling is present present in the analysis, like the random sampling, sampling without replacement, sampling with replacement, stratified sampling. If we go for the random sampling, then means in the millions of the point, we choose the certain random sample points, and select those points as the representation of the data. Many times we do the sampling without replacement, and many times we do the sampling with replacement. Means once the object is the selected, once the some particular point is being selected, then it is removed from the population. Suppose there are the thousands of the points, thousands of the data value, and one point randomly has
Sir, you are mute. Ashish Khare, sir.
Yes, sir. Can you hear it?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you. So I'm just repeating over here. In the sampling, there are the four common type of the sampling: simple random sampling, sampling without replacement, sampling with replacement, and stratified sampling. In the random sampling, what we do, we simply randomly select the some point from the population. And in the sampling without replacement and sampling with replacement, once the point is selected, then it is removed from the population. Means if the 1000 points are there, one point has been selected, right? Then in the next time we are selecting one point out of the 999 point. And in the sampling with the replacement, the selected object is not removed from the population. And the last one is the stratified sampling. We partition the data set and draw the sample from each partition. Means we partition the data set and select the samples from each partition. So this is how the sampling with and without replacement. I'm just going with the fast. Sampling, we can select select the samples from the cluster. Means if we obtain the cluster, if we form the cluster, then we select the certain points, certain representative points from the cluster. For example, these are the three clusters, and we are selecting the 5 points from here, 4 points from here, 4 points from here. So means the points samples are being selected from the cluster. Next one is the data compression. Data compression techniques can be applied to represent the data. Most of compression techniques which have the high compression ratio are lossy in the nature, but some data compression techniques are the lossless as well. Lossless technique can be applied, like the audio video compression are typically lossy compression, but they contain a lot of useful information. So data transformation, and after the data sampling means identification of the representation of data, or you can say that the representative data is being isolated, or the representative data is the present. Then many times it is possible that it is not possible to visualize the data. It is not possible to visualize the data in one domain. Then we need to transform the data in another domain. One example I have given you in case of the that slide, where I have shown you that 2 sine waves are being combined and a noise has been added. And just by looking that particular data, it is not possible to see that which frequency is present at what time. Then we can go for the Fourier transform or the wavelet transform type of the things. But there are some simple techniques for the transformation of the data is available. And data transformation, a function that maps the entire set of the values of the given attribute to a new set of the replacement values, so that such that the old value can be identified by the one of the new values. These are the few of the methods for the data transformations. Like the minimum, maximum, min, max normalization, we can normalize the data because it may be possible that many times it is possible that there are the different attributes, different attributes which have the different range, right? And many times if we want to give the weightage of if we want to combine the attribute in form of the certain function, then we try to give the equal weightage to every data point. Many times if someone have the range from the 0 to 10 lakhs and another one have the range from the 0 to 100, and if we try to combine, then that is not being matching. So it is required to means normalize them, like the minimum, maximum. We can normalize them between the 0 to 1. We can normalize in based on the Z score. We can normalize by the certain decimal scaling. Discretization can be done, means divide the range of the continuous attribute into the interval. Many times the available data is the continuous in the nature, and the continuous data need to be the discretized. For example, if you are talking about the EEG pattern or the ECG signal of any particular patient, right, in the medical data analysis, then that is the continuous in the nature, and we need to discretize them. And for the discretization, you can use the sampling techniques and select the certain samples from the certain range. These are some of the data discretization methods, like binning, histogram analysis, cluster analysis, decision tree, and correlation. I have already talked about the binning, histogram analysis, and correlation analysis. Tomorrow I will go in the detail about the cluster analysis. So discretization in the binning, what we do, we simply do the equal width partitioning or the equal depth partitioning. We can divide the data into the you can say equal distance and select the one from there by using the certain statistical parameters like the mean or median or the boundary, etc. Or we can do the equal depth, means in the term of the frequency, means the number of the occurrences. So these are the binning methods. I have already talked about. This is the discretization without using the class levels, means binning versus clustering. If you are using the binning, then the partition, and if you are trying to partition into the 3, then the result look like this. But if you are using the clustering based techniques, then this partitions is becoming better. So this is all, means discretization by classification and the correlation analysis. Classification, we can go for the supervised supervised type of the classification, and for the clustering we can go for the unsupervised. Clustering is an example of the unsupervised type of the thing. So we can go for the correlation analysis, means for the discretization we can also do the certain correlation analysis in both supervised way, some bottom up merge, or the some merging from both sides. So this is all about the basic of the data pre-processing. If you want to ask anything, you can ask it, although I have gone through very fast speech, but I am happy to answer the questions if I will be knowing.
Yeah, thank you, sir. There
And
are
the questions may you can ask the questions related to this particular talk, or you can ask the questions related outside from this task. Both type of the questions are welcome, right? Because today is the first day, so I kept my presentation at very basic level.
yes, sir. So there are some questions.
Yeah, sure.
Starting from. So first question is, sir, what is the effect of binning on the quality of the data? Does it affect it significantly or in some other way, the binning method?
Let me to tell very frankly that binning method could be useful. Binning method is the one of the simplest method, and if we go for the real applications, if we go for the modern real application, then it is not being used in many cases. Right? If you are knowing that our data is ranging in the certain range, and then another ranging in the certain range, and within the range, if you are if you have the certain information that the noise could be present over there, then binning could be the useful. Okay? So if you are sure that data is data in the certain range, and within the range the noise is the present, and those range are again the discrete, then binning could be the useful. But the modern data which is available in available to us is normally not this type of the nature, right?
Okay. So the next question is that how we can mathematically check the quality of the data. So like entropy is one of the method. Is there
Sure.
any other method?
Means for which type of data you are talking about? Do you have the certain application in your mind?
So in question, this is not mentioned. Do we have some generalized methods to know the quality of the data, how significant it is?
It is very difficult to say any generalized method, and frankly speaking, I cannot mention any particular generalized name of the method which can talk about the quality of data. The quality of data can be judged based on the type of the data we are handling, right? Because the lecture was the basic one, but let me to tell that modern data science or the machine learning application have the variety of the data, right? Have the wide range of the data, and for analyzing those wide range of the data, we need the different methods.
So the next question is that can the PCA method be used for classification of image as well? And is there a limit to that you can supply that much dimensional data, for example, 100 dimensional, 200? Is there a limit to PCA?
No, it is not a limit. There is no limit but actually for the computation things, your machine should perform well, right? Because if you are taking the PCA, then if you have the n size of the data, you are converting that into the n cross n matrix, right? Means the n data points are being converted into the n square, and then again the computation of the eigenvectors and eigenvalues are being performed. So the computational cost is going to be the high. 2n square cross n square matrix are being used over there. Okay, so there is no limit. This depends on the choice of the user. For example, you ask the question of some person who is asking about the image, right? If we are working only for the face recognition type of the system, and that face recognition system is good for the opening your laptop or opening your mobile phone, then the few features would be the enough, right? Because there you don't want to be the more number of the features. But suppose there is the face recognition system which is installed at the defense laboratory, defense purpose, right? There the face should be the recognized in the more accurately. So you can go for the more number of the feature matching. Okay, so more number of the features can be obtained over there.
Another question is there any difference between normalization and standardization, or they are like synonymous? Normalization and standardization.
Normalization and standardization, both terms are the different terms in the way that once we are standardizing the data, then this means the standardization with respect to the certain application. Normalization is something you can say that all data, what we do in the data science, many times they are the synonyms as well, right? I'm just taking the 1 minute to explain it. When they are the synonyms and when they are the just opposite to each other. If you have the certain applications which are dealing with the numeric data only, which you have the certain applications where you are dealing with the numeric data only, and the different features or different attributes are there, and you are trying to combine them together. And during the combination process, if the range of the data is the high, right, then you are trying to normalize the data, right? You are trying to normalize the data, and that particular normalization could be with respect to the simple normalization as well as normalization which follow the certain distribution. For example, if you are knowing about that the marks of a particular class, right? Students who obtain the marks of a particular class, then there the normalization cannot be between the 0 to 1, because most of the values of the marks of students of the class having the certain there is the certain range where the most of students are getting the marks, that should follow the certain Gaussian type of the distribution. So this particular normalization could be the linear as well as the certain distribution type of the things could be there. And the second one is the standardization. If you have the applications, if you have the things where you need to, you can say, means the 2 or more databases, standardization can be also used over there, where the 2 or more databases can have the different type of the data values obtained from the different type of the sources, right? Then there you need the certain kind of the standardization, right? So standardization could be the normalization, standardization could be different from the normalization. That depends on the application.
So many questions are coming in the queue, but I think we need
we can take them on the next 10 minutes,
questions.
right?
And, yes, no problem. Sir, how next question is, how do we decide the attributes for text data?
I'm not working, frankly speaking, I'm not working in the text analysis, right? And I am not able to comment in detail about the text analysis. But what the text analysis people do in the very basic, just I know that they simply remove the stop word, and they simply, after removal of the stop word, they simply find out the keyword and association between the keyword, etc. Right? I'm only knowing about that, but basically up to that particular level in case of the text data.
Sir, another question is you talked about the missing values in the columns, and
Yeah.
you also said that mean or median could be good for that. But if there are some outliers, then mean is sensitive towards us. So, what is the alternative way which is as good as using the mean?
You should be aware about the application. I'm again saying that you should be aware about the application on which you are working. If your application requires the certain outliers, right? If your application have the certain outliers and that outlier is useful for your case, then mean should never be chosen, right? Mean or median should be never chosen. Outliers must be identified. But if your application have the outliers in form of the noise, then median is the good. Right?
Another question is
Median is
that how one can decide the data set of images for applying machine learning in healthcare. Like how do we select data set? There are various data sets which are available. So which one we should go for? How to decide that?
Just repeat this question.
Sir, exactly word by word, the question is like this. How one can decide the data set of images for applying machine learning in healthcare?
There are various data sets available. The participant who have asked this question, I would like to say that if I am not you are not satisfied by my answer, you can again ask your questions more clearly, or you can call me or email me as well, right? Because this is my area where I am working. If you have the certain medical applications and you are looking for the data set, that which data set would be the useful for applying the machine learning in the medical application, then let me to tell you that for what type of the disease or for what type of the application you are looking for. Normally we try to in the medical field, normally we try to collect the data. Ideally we try to collect the data of age of every age of the patient, right? Because suppose if you are studying the trying to look for the detection of the cancer disease, you should have a data of the certain children of the 10-year. You should have the certain data of the 20-year, 30-year-old and 40-year-old and so on patient. Then your machine learning technique can analyze those things, or machine learning technique can predict that a particular person have a chance of the cancer or not. If you have not the data, if you have only the data of the cancer patient and all the patients are around the 60 years, right? Then it is very difficult for the machine learning to train the machine learning algorithm to classify sorry, to classify the cancer disease, right? But if you have the data, if you are really interested to predict the cancer disease, then you must have the data in the progressive, in the progression of the age of the person.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Someone have answered this question, I think, and that answer I like.
Okay. Sir, this is the last question for today, and the question goes like this. What are the different methods to detect noise in the data?
What are different methods to detect the noise of the data? That again depends on the application, right? That again depends on the application, because the type of the noise present in any system could be of the different. If you are talking about noise present in the just I'm giving the example of the medical one, as someone asked the previous question, so I remember. If you are talking about the noise present in the X-ray data, then that could be the Gaussian type of the noise. If you are talking about the noise present in the ultrasound data, then that is of the multiplicative type of the noise, speckle type of the noise. Okay, so the type of the data is important.
Okay, so this is it. We have reached to the end of the session 2 lecture of by Dr. Ashish Khare. Very nice and interesting lecture, very informative at the same time. And the participants also appreciated the lecture by the comments, as you can see. And really, I mean, I personally really, what I really like about the session, or rather, asking questions to Dr. Ashish, that he openly said if he does not know anything, he just said it is a very rare quality, but I mean, really to learn from him in this regard. So very nice session, sir. Once again, thank you for giving your valuable time to let the participant know that he will again be giving one more lecture tomorrow as well at 2:30. So thank you, Ashish sir, once again, and for the
Thank you,
information.
Dr. Nadeem.
Yeah, yes,
Thank you,
sir.
Dr. Nadeem. I am looking for the some comments, and just because those participants who have the 5 minutes time, just for them, I'm looking for the some comments, and
Sure, sir.
someone have asked. Some tools and data sets. So someone have asked that can you take it with some tools and data sets. That person who have asked this can tell me the applications. Can I name the tool and data set if I will be knowing it?
I don't see that, sir. Maybe in the earlier
Okay.
comment, it may be
Okay,
there.
no problem. If anyone have anything, then you can call me or ask me. If I will be knowing, I can answer. Otherwise, someone have asked, can you tell for the video analysis?
Yeah, some tools and techniques. I think that is the question for video analysis.
Yeah. So please elaborate in the detail. If the participant is online, then please explain that. What about the video analysis? So I will be knowing. I just tell me, because this is again my area. P. Malinga, can you tell for video analysis?
P. Malinga, can you clarify your question once again?
Yes, sir. Like, I would like to know what are the tools or techniques whenever I wanted to work on video data, sir. Because I have worked on text mining. We used to have the unstructured data and then make it a structured data, and then have bag of words and then data pre-processing. All those things we used to do it. Now I want to work on a video data, so I have not yet worked on it. So would you like to just tell me how can I do that, or what are the tools or techniques I have to adopt? Is it the same? Because I have not worked with video streaming data. Actually, I wanted to work on video streaming data.
Okay, good question. And in fact, at present, a lot of researches has been started from past 1 decade on the video data analysis. Live streaming means in the real time we can analyze. Actually, all of us agree that video data is the voluminous in the nature. And if we try to analyze the data frame by frame, then it takes a lot of time, and we cannot analyze in the real time, even if we are working in the parallel machines. So what we do for the video analysis, as I have mentioned over here, that sampling technique, right? Sampling technique. Here, what we do in the sampling, we identify the shots. Shots are that portion of the video where there is a significant change. Okay. And within the shot, we try to identify the keyframes. Okay, shot could be of the 1 second shot could be of the 10-second shot. For example, if you are looking for a video of certain news stream, okay, then suppose the news anchor is reading the news, and then after some time he is showing the live of the certain ground reporting. Okay. Then the shot could be the duration where the news anchor is reading the news. Okay, so you can extract the certain number of the keyframes from that particular shot, and then you can extract the certain number of the keyframes from another shot. Means first you have to identify the shots, then you have to identify the keyframes, and then you have to apply your image processing techniques on the keyframes for video analysis. This is the common and recent practices which is being performed by the image and video processing scientist.
Thank you very much, sir. So first
Means you have to identify the keyframes within the shot and then work on
those things. Thank you very much, sir.
Is there any other question? Otherwise, we will call it a day. So, no questions, sir, I think. And as sir has already
thank you
welcome all of you for contacting him. You can ask him, you can email him for whatever queries you have. So, thank you once again, Khare sir. Nice having you with us, with your knowledge, with your depth of knowledge, in fact. And hopefully we will see you again tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. For information to the participants, the first session, rather the third session for tomorrow will start at 10 a.m. and the link of joining the same will be shared with you tomorrow only in the morning. Okay? So thank you, Khare sir, once again. I would like to invite Dr. Sajid, Dr. Mohammad Sajid, the coordinator of the course, to say a few words, and then we can start.
Thank you, sir. I'm very much thankful for Dr. Ashish Khare. Actually, we are fortunate to have session with him. So thank you, sir, and thank you all participants. And again, we announce that the third session will start at 10 a.m. tomorrow, and the link for tomorrow meetings will be shared early in the morning. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Sajid. Thank you.
Now I request to all participants, please leave.